and welcome to Season 2 of our weekly podcast, Beyond Reform, where we explore the changing landscape of the public sector in Jamaica. We spoke about a number of interesting topics in Season 1, and you can check out those on our website at publicsectortransformation.gov.jm. We are kicking off Season 2 by shining the spotlight on the most important asset within the public sector, people. The public sector employees that keep the sector turning. I'm your host, Daniki Clark, and I'm joined by three very talented public sector employees, and you will get to meet them in a minute. But just to say that the public sector experience is a unique one that provides an unprecedented opportunity to serve one's country. Because as we know, the public sector touches the lives of all Jamaicans, be it the road you walk or drive on, the school your child attends, paying taxes, and so on. And if you didn't know, the government of Jamaica is the largest single employer in the country. But listeners, let's get to meet our guests, Shayla, Paul, and Kadian.
Hello everyone, my name is Shayla Reid and I am the Senior Secretary at the Office of the Government Trustee within the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce.
Hello everyone, I'm Paul Bailey, Acting Director in the Legal Services Unit in the Ministry of Justice.
Hi everyone, I'm Kadian Birch, the Principal Director, Research and Policy Development branch of the Policy Planning and Development Division in the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for stopping by to have this chat with us. So if we could get things started with Shayla, tell us about your entry into the public sector. Is your current role where you started?
Yes, the current role I'm in is where I started. I'm probably the youngest person here in terms of the public sector, as I've only been working in the public sector since January of this year. But I really looked forward to this opportunity because for me, entering into the working world as a recent graduate, I was thinking that I wanted to make the biggest impact possible. So although I know that the private sector is somewhere that you can make an impact, I do believe the public sector is what caters to every single Jamaican person. And I wanted that experience and that insight into how do we manage the entire country? How can I play a role in assisting people in Jamaica?
Great. And for you, Paul?
For me, my journey started in 2016 as a parliamentary intern to Minister Charles at the time at the Ministry of National Security. And then I would have transitioned as a parliamentary intern, then to a legal intern in the Legal Services Unit at the Ministry of National Security. And then from there, I just continued, became a legal officer. Then I acted as senior legal officer for a while. And then I made my transition to the Ministry of Justice.
Okay, cool. And for you, Kadian?
So my journey started in 2010. I started as a legal officer. I'm also an attorney at law. So I started as a legal officer within the Legal Services Unit of the Ministry of Health. From there, I moved on to the Permanent Secretary's Office as the Senior Director, Program Management and Coordination. And from there to my current role as the Principal Director, Research and Policy Development.
Okay, so you've had quite a bit of a journey, if we may say so, in the public sector. And I want to touch on your experience, Paul, because you mentioned you came in as an intern. How did that happen for persons who may be at university and looking for career paths? How did that happen for you?
Interesting enough, it was actually a voluntary thing for me. I wanted to get the opportunity to get some experience in the public service, but at the same time, the opportunities are not necessarily available. So I thought, what could I do to get this experience? And I said, let me volunteer the service and then see how best I could transition, make my mark, be deemed worthwhile as an employee, so that I could then make the transition. So that's how it started. I volunteered.
Okay.
Yeah.
So volunteerism is not dead, as
It
some
is.
people like to say. You are clearly an example that if you volunteer, it could open up opportunities for you.
Exactly, and I would recommend actually taking that route for some people.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great. Kadian, what was this what you wanted to do? Was this your ultimate professional goal?
working in the public sector was. So on completing law school, I had previously worked as a paralegal legal secretary in the private sector, and I had known from them that working in the private sector was not where I wanted to be. And so I looked to the public sector. The main reason being, as Shayla had said earlier, if you want to make an impact, if you want to make your country better, the public service is where you could go to make that difference. And so I started as a legal officer. I sort of moved into this role as in terms of research and policy development. I had completed my master's in 2016 in global health policy and management. And so with my legal background and my health policy background, it sort of brought me into this current position, which I currently thoroughly enjoy.
And what are some of the things you do? What's a typical day like?
So a typical day, lots of meetings. I tend to get to work early to have that quiet moment in the morning just to get things off my desk. My branch is responsible. We have 3 units, the policy development, research and policy development section, and the policy monitoring and evaluation section, as well as the health economics and data science section. So we are really a core unit core branch within the ministry in terms of providing or undertaking the work that is necessary to provide or to deliver evidence-based policies and to make evidence-based policy decisions. So the typical day is going through or key activities that are needed in terms of aligning to the supporting the ministry in getting their strategic priorities advanced. Some days are long because, as you know, at a certain level, during the day you have a lot of meetings, so then you try to catch up in the evenings to try and really do the desk work that is needed to move things along.
Okay. And what's a typical day like for you, Paul, at the Ministry of Justice?
I would have to say that my day is very similar to Kadian's day, where it's a lot of meetings.
Okay.
Sometimes you may say a little bit too many meetings. Meetings. But it's the nature of the job, and we have to understand and appreciate that it's a part of the effort to work collaboratively to find the solutions. So we have come to recognize that meetings is just a natural part of the job. But it's a lot of meetings. You get into office, you're trying to sign out matters. For us, working in the legal services unit, we have a range of matters ranging from legislative matters to contract-related matters to leases to various types of agreements such as MOUs and even international agreements that we have to give an eye to. So that's essentially it. It's a lot of meetings and a lot of documentation to work with.
Okay, I can imagine.
Yes.
Shayla, what is your typical day like at the office of the government trustee?
Okay, so not a lot of people know about the Office of the Government Trustee, but we are the main insolvency administrators in Jamaica. So whenever a company or a person becomes bankrupt and they do receive their legal document, which is a certificate of assignment from the Office of the Supervisor of Insolvency, they now come to our office once they're not able to afford a private trustee. So within the office, it really depends on the day. It really depends on the day, as our office does rely on having new matters and also the intricacies of insolvency administration. So when we do have a new matter, for me personally, I am responsible for interviewing that new bankrupt. Once they do come in, I have to also interact with the ministry on a daily basis, as currently I am technically assisting with the executive secretary role, given that we are without one at the moment. So my days are a little bit tricky because I delve into the usual recording secretary work of going to meetings. So I attend most meetings that are held within the office, but I'm also responsible for dealing directly with the bankrupts as well and assisting in the administration of their matters, whether it is contacting their creditors, speaking to the debtors themselves, or also speaking with other entities that are involved in insolvency. So other banking institutions that may interact with us at points in time.
Yeah, a very broad range of skills and expertise I can see coming out. Yours a very public-facing one. Kadian, at the Ministry of Health, you're making sure that whatever policy decisions they make are based on evidence, and Paul is championing legal affairs at the Ministry of Justice. How do you find your jobs? Are they fulfilling? Are they meeting your expectations? Starting with you, Paul. I see you looking at me, so I want to hear from you first.
I've always said it that the hardest part about the job is really the management aspect of it, having to navigate social interaction, having to manage people, as well as also ensuring that you are putting the mandate of the ministry forward at all times. So it's really about that balancing act that is the challenging part. But I find it to be quite rewarding, knowing that my efforts have impact, knowing that my efforts I can actually see the result of what I'm working on. It's something that is made manifest in a physical way. So it's rewarding in that sense.
Give us an example.
An example. Well, some of the legislative work that I've done, I've seen it being promulgated. For instance, while I was working at National Security, I would have worked on, for instance, the Firearms Act.
Oh,
and that
you
is
are
now
one of those. Mandatory minimum.
With the mandatory minimum.
Yes.
And now working at Ministry of Justice, we're working on reform as it concerns mandatory minimum as well. So we would have worked on the proposal to amend the Offence Against a Person Act as well as the Criminal Justice Administration Act, where we're seeking to increase the mandatory minimum applicable to the offence of murder. And we're now going through a joint select committee on that area, determining what's the most appropriate penalty applicable to murder, and getting a sense from the public as well, what are the viewpoints and perspectives of the public where this issue is concerned. So it has been quite rewarding, as well as an interesting process in getting to hear from the public and see the perspectives of the public. Yeah.
And for you, Kadian, give us an example of seeing your work manifesting itself.
Oh, wow. I'm just using COVID in terms of, at that time I would have been in the Permanent Secretary's office and being responsible for some of the initiatives in the COVID-19 response. The thing with health is, with everything, you have a direct impact on someone's life, which could mean life or death.
Exactly.
Everything that you do at every level. And so for me, whatever program I'm managing, or even when I was in legal services, it was not just about managing cases or legislative reform. It was also, from a legal perspective, how are you enhancing the quality of care that is being delivered to people in our public health facilities? And now, as principal director, how am I developing policies that will enable us to develop quality, accessible, and affordable healthcare to the people of Jamaica? So from that, it is rewarding for me, and it's an exciting job. I mean, yes, it's a lot of work, but it's a continuous learning experience for you. I've been at health 13 years, but every day seems like a new day. There's something new to learn, some new challenge to address, and for me, that's rewarding and it's stimulating.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the I didn't ask Sheila. How could I? How do you find your job, Sheila?
Well, I think this was one of the best jobs I could have gotten at the time, given the fact that I am also an aspiring attorney, so I'm currently in law school. And
I didn't know that. I am now surrounded by 2 attorneys and 1 aspiring to be an attorney. Okay.
Yes, so my ability to improve on my communication skills while still being in a very legal environment has been really ideal for me. And so when I'm at work, one of my favorite things to see, or the most impactful thing for me, is when we have a bankrupt who becomes discharged. So they're no longer in the bankruptcy process. And once you have that opportunity to observe where they were when they came into bankruptcy and just their whole financial peril and how they have learned through financial counseling and through our administration and meeting with their creditors, how much financial literacy they have gained through this experience, it is really, really remarkable, because our office is kind of a rehabilitative center for persons who are financially struggling. And so when we see them come out and they continue to be good citizens, good stewards of their own money, we are really, really happy within our office to see that. So that's my favorite part.
Okay, I can imagine
Yes.
see someone on the brink and then being pulled back. And
Definitely, when they're on their feet again and they don't need us.
cool. Opportunities in the public sector. As employees, do you feel that there are opportunities for you to give of your best and to grow professionally and to continue to make that impact that you all desire of making on the citizens of the country? Paul, I'm starting with you again. Or I should start with Kadia this time, maybe. Yes. Yeah.
So I think I'm an example of the opportunities for growth within the public sector. I mean, having started as a legal officer, then moving to the Permanent Secretary's office as a senior director, and now as a principal director. So there is opportunity for growth. And I think some of the work the transformation unit is doing in terms of how we are looking at restructuring some of our ministries. So my ministry is one of the ministries that has benefited from that. The policy unit was recently restructured. So even my branch is a new branch, having been established last year. And there are other units that are under review. And so that does provide the opportunity for growth within the ministry for both existing personnel as well as persons who are looking to enter the public service. Okay. And I think I should also say, when you enter the public service, there are support that is made available to you for your, professional and educational advancement. We know that the Ministry of Finance, there are scholarship opportunities. There are local level support that is provided by ministries also in terms of supporting training and for staff to help them to grow professionally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Paul?
So I would agree that, yes, there are opportunities for career advancement in the public sector. I myself am a beneficiary of one of those opportunities, starting out as an intern and then being given the opportunity to transition as a legal officer. That's a chance that was being taken on me because I would have been fresh out of law school at that time. So I'm very, very grateful for that. And I'm seeing more and more examples and opportunities being provided to young people. That is an example of the opportunities being given. I think there's always more to be done. There's always more that can be done. So I'm just looking forward to continued growth in this respect.
Okay. And Shayla, you were very active during your campus years and you're now in the public sector. Do you see those opportunities that Paul is talking about and do you feel it? Do you want to stay or do you see this as, getting some experience and then move on to more exciting times, exciting places?
I definitely see these opportunities for growth because even within my own office, our head of the unit, the government trustee, ensures that everyone becomes a part of the process. And one of the things we do emphasize is training. So no one in the office is able to say they remained in the same position that they came in. So we always give persons an opportunity to grow through training and also having persons be a part of different committees. So assisting in developing the office, our procedures that we do utilize, and also collaborating with other departments within the ministry or other agencies so that people can learn different things. So as a young person, a lot of people do tell you when you go into the public sector, You go in, it's a lot of work. However, you're not able to grow through that experience. You're just burdened by the work. However, being in the public sector now, I do sense that there is a shift from just having this extreme workload with no room for you to grow. But now it's an opportunity for you to, yes, to have an insight into everything that is happening within the country, but you also have this chance to get a certificate, get trained in something else, learn something you didn't have any idea about, just like I did with my office, because not a lot of people know about it. So I do think it's an opportunity for young people to grow, and I am not considering to leave the public sector at this time because of my experience of learning so much and seeing different avenues, especially in relation to the law.
Okay. And we're about to wrap the conversation up. But I have just one question, which I'd like you all to answer. If you had the power to change just one thing in the public sector, what would that be and why? And I'm going to start with Shayla.
Okay. So for me, it would be collaboration with the other ministries, departments, and agencies, because from my experience and with my peers as well, once we start to work in the public sector, you only know about your ministry, your department, your agency. However, we are all serving the same people. So I really wish we'd have greater synergy within the ministry. So I do appreciate what the TIU has been doing for the different ministries by even just having a debating competition, which to some people might not seem like a lot, but it grants an opportunity for different employees to learn about other ministries through just a debate, something as simple as that. So I do think just having that integration or that synergy with other departments and other ministries will really assist, because sometimes what one ministry is doing is affecting what another ministry is doing, but because we don't have that communication channel, we're not aware. So I do think it would help if we have more collaboration.
Okay. Paul.
One of the things that change about the public sector, I believe there's a greater need for opportunities to be provided for young people to say what the public sector should look like. I think we have kind of gotten into this trap of a particular thing has been done a particular way, so let's continue to do it that way. There is no opportunity for innovation. There's no opportunity for proper thinking through of processes.
Is that no opportunity or limited opportunity?
So let me correct that. I should say limited opportunity, because we have seen instances of growth and we have seen instances of change and development. But I think if it is that we're a little bit more decisive about it, we can reach even further. I think if it is that we have determined in ourselves that we need to provide the opportunities for all members of the public sector to contribute in their own way as to what the public sector should look like, we would definitely see even greater impact and greater change. And that's the kind of change that we want. We don't want to kind of be stuck in just a traditional way of doing things, but how can we improve all of our processes going forward? And I think we can do that through having greater input from all members of the public sector, as well as just members of the public.
Okay. Katie, and you would have been around a little longer here. This is the way we've done things here. What would you like to change about the public sector?
For me, it's not so much a change, but maybe more an improvement, because there are opportunities for training within the public sector. But I would want to see a more targeted approach in terms of developing certain core skill sets, competencies for persons that are entering the public sector, entering a ministry. And this may have to be done maybe at a ministry level to ensure that the persons that are coming in or advancing to another level within the ministry has the required skills such as project management or program management, program development, to enable, or leadership development, to enable the person to meet the job requirements and excel at what they do.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. This has been a very interesting discussion. Shayla Reid, Senior Secretary at the Office of the Government Trustee. I'm sure people will be looking that up.
Definitely.
Paul Bailey, Director of Legal Services at the Ministry of Justice. Acting, he will tell me. You will become the director. Claim it, right? And Kadian Birch, Principal Director for Research and Policy Development in the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the work that you do. And I'm sure the public is better for your level of commitment and dedication to service. Certain persons across every age group at every level in and even outside the public sector can take something away from the discussion that we've had today. I do hope our listeners have a better understanding of how dynamic the public sector can be. More so, we want you to think about how your own talents could be of service to the country. Who knows? Serving in the public sector might just be in the cards for you. Until next time, I'm your host, Daniki Clark, inviting you to subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss another episode. Head over to tiujamaica.buzzsprout.com and subscribe via your preferred app, and you can also check out this and other episodes of Beyond Reform via our website at publicsectortransformation.gov.jm. Catch you next time.